Hello, my merciful brothers and sisters. It is I, MisterMercy, bringing you another video with some Overwatch gameplay. So guys, Sombra may be in trouble, along with many future heroes of Overwatch, due to some new news that has just dropped yesterday. So this has nothing to do with the ARG, and it's very much real. So it was announced yesterday that SAG-AFTRA, which stands for the Screen Actors Guild and the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, which is a union that represents a lot of video game voice actors, has officially gone on strike. Now, I covered this on my podcast many months ago, before I even started this channel, about how they were threatening to strike and threatening to, stop working until their demands were met. But now the threat is finally here, and it has the potential to heavily impact a lot of the games and upcoming content that you're looking forward to. But before I start getting into what this strike means for your games, let me detail what the conflict that caused the strike is all about. So basically, the union formed a contract with many major video game companies back in 1994 that detailed, how voice actors within the industry that are affiliated with them must be treated. However, back then, nobody really knew how big the games industry would become and how much extra work would have to go into making a game in the future. Because back in 1994, a voice actor could probably get most of their dialogue for a game out in a fairly decent amount of time without too much strain on their vocal cords, due to the technical limitations at the time. Because you think about it, 1994, this was before the Nintendo 64 and PlayStation had even come to market, that this contract was drafted. So this was before the big boom of at-home video game consoles, and most of the dialogue and sound effects back then could just be handled, by computers. However, obviously, as games became more advanced and commercially successful and harder to make, with deadlines becoming tighter and tighter, the contracts that SAG-AFTRA had drafted back in 1994 weren't all that helpful anymore. And this allowed many gaming companies to abuse the contract and wear their voice actors down. There have been reports of really shitty labor practices within the industry when it comes to voice acting, such as voice actors not being told what game that they're working on, or if they feel comfortable working on, or asked if they feel comfortable working on the game. VAs not being compensated for their work properly, and long, strenuous recording sessions. Voice actors, previously ones involved with first-person shooters like Call of Duty, have said that all their screaming and grunting that they have to perform in those games. Can you think about how many times in a Call of Duty game you hear somebody screaming out for a kill streak or something, or they're grunting from being shot at and stuff. Think about how many times you've heard that in a Call of Duty game, and that's all voice actors doing that. That's all people in a studio doing all those screams and grunts live for the microphone. And having to perform those kinds of actions for these games is severely damaging their vocal cords. And some reports that I've read, and this is what kind of shocked me, some reports that I've read have even said that some voice actors were worked so hard that they tasted blood in their mouths by the end of the session. Let me emphasize that. The companies worked these voice actors so hard that they made their vocal cords bleed. That's some serious shit right there. So these contracts were set to expire all the way back in 2014. But video game companies, since 2014, since those contracts have since expired, have been fighting any attempt from SAG-AFTRA to renegotiate the contracts to reflect the current industry. For the past 2 years, they've been fighting it. So now the union is on strike. So SAG-AFTRA and the voice actors it represents, this is what they're demanding. They demand that companies must pay the VAs an extra $900 for every 2 million copies sold of a game that they had worked on. Another demand is that voice actors should have the right to preview a project before accepting the role. And the third demand is that all strenuous recording sessions that could be potentially damaging to the VA's health must be limited to 2 hours instead of the usual 4 hours that they usually do, with a full day's pay as compensation. So those are their demands for the strike that they want met before they stop striking. So the counter argument from the gaming industry basically boils down to, hey, we can't pay you guys more, that's unfair to the rest of the industry that makes games possible. Yeah, I'm sure fairness and equality is really what you're after here. Hashtag sarcasm. But and it's not like the VAs are asking for like millions and millions of dollars here. They just want a little bit more compensation for putting their health on the line for your game. And you know, like I went up here and talked about how, you know, some of the voice actors' vocal cords were bleeding, but that's not the only like health problem that can be caused by, you know, doing all this strenuous voice work. There have been instances where, you know, voice actors in the past who have you know, worked this hard have suffered other, you know, health problems such as like just heart attacks or like heart failure and stuff. So this is pretty serious shit. And you know, I hope that they can, you know, get these demands met so that their health is put more into consideration. So what does this strike mean for your games? Well, some companies that are going to be affected by this strike are Activision, EA, Disney, Insomniac Games, Take-Two Productions, and WB Games, among some other companies who are responsible for like motion capture and voiceover recording and other aspects of game development like that. So it's important to say that this strike only affects games that have went into production after February 17th, 2015. But I do believe that this will also probably include additional DLC and content patches that have also gone into production after that date as well. So it's not just like the core game that's being affected. I'm assuming that it's also going to extend to DLC and content patches. Unfortunately, Blizzard Entertainment, you know, the people that make Overwatch and a bunch of other games that we love, they are a subsidiary of Activision. Activision owns them. The company's real actual name, not the part that makes the games, but you know, the part that distributes the games, is known as Activision Blizzard. They're one company. And so, by extension of Activision being affected, Blizzard Entertainment is also going to be affected by this strike. So it's important to point out, though, that not every voice actor from these companies is a part of the SAG-AFTRA union and will be striking. They probably won't be if they're not part of the SAG-AFTRA union. And if they wanted to, video game companies could also hire non-union VAs for their games. But I'm not really sure how many voice actors that work for Blizzard are a part of this union that's now on strike. It's possible, though admittedly improbable, that Sombra's voice lines for Overwatch have yet to be completed, and now her voice actor could currently be on strike. So this could potentially mean that if this scenario that I'm proposing is legit, then this could mean that Sombra may actually be delayed even more until they can get this strike to stop, and you know, can get her back into the recording studio to do more recording for them. But let's say, for example, that Sombra's lines are recorded and that she's not going to be part of the strike. Well, we don't know if all the voice lines for the next seasonal event, which is probably going to be a Christmas event, which we're expecting probably sometime either like late November or early December. We don't know if those voice lines for that next seasonal event have been recorded, and we know for absolute certain that Blizzard is not ready to record the voice lines for the 24th Overwatch hero, because in a recent developer update, they've stated that the 24th hero is currently in the very early stages of development. They're using placeholder models for this 24th hero, because they haven't gotten to the point where they can do voice acting yet for that hero. So who knows how this strike is truly going to affect Blizzard and its games. And I know a lot of this is going to be kept behind closed doors. We're probably not going to see what the companies are going to do about this strike, including Blizzard. But let's hope that this strike can be brief and that SAG-AFTRA can get their demands met. Otherwise, 2017, man, gaming is gonna be looking pretty bleak in the coming year. But anyways, guys, that's all the news that I had for you. So remember, if you liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, I'm MisterMercy. Peace, everyone.